you went on.
Silver has been used for centuries for natural human health and has proven to be an effective alternative as a defense against germs, bruises, bacteria, and disease. Mycronic silver technology is superior to other silver products and is specially formulated to work with your immune system for an affordable, natural health choice. Check out mychronicsilver.net today and see why customers are choosing Mycronic Silver, fast-acting and reliable. That's mychronicsilver.net.
Hey everyone, it is American Perspective here on Friday in Arizona. This is your host, Noél Roberts, Patriot Mom 007. Thanks for joining us again today on this beautiful Friday. And you just heard from our partners, Mycronic Silver. You're going to check them out at mychronicsilver.com. And if you use Patriot Mom 007, you get 10% off. They don't have any sort of membership or recurring charges. So if you do want to just try one or more of their products, please feel free and don't worry about getting looped into those constant purchases that we find with all the other companies who are really just trying to sell us stuff and they don't really care what they're selling. They just want the recurring membership. So we don't do that with our partners here. They're all buy one whenever you want one type people because they're really just trying to help you and not just take your money. So Patriot Mom 007 for 10% off mychronicsilver.com. Go there today, find your best products. And with that, we're going to open a great show. We've got a friend here today from Arizona. And there's, as always, so much happening in our world, but in Arizona too. I don't often focus on Arizona as much as I probably should. We will start doing that more going into the next election cycle come 26. But today we're going to focus on Arizona and what that's going to look like. We have a lot of things happening you've seen around the nation for the last few years. We have just city councils, boards of supervisors everywhere who don't want to put a stop to having inappropriate and pornographic books in our libraries, in our public libraries, and in our school libraries, which sometimes are one and the same. Here in Arizona, some of our schools, like my son, where they went to high school, just up the hill here, it's called Ants. Well, it's Anthem is the little community, and Boulder Creek is the high school. But what they do is they make the high school a public facility as well. So that's where all the community members can go check their books out. So really it's accessible to everyone, including our children. And some of the content that they have been placing on the shelves over the last few years under the last administration have been less than appropriate for even some adults, frankly. I mean, honestly, there's plenty of these books that I would not want my aunt or mom to probably read. So just saying, it's not just a child thing, it's just an inappropriate thing sometimes across the board. But that's what we're going to be talking about, is that the books are still in these libraries, they're still accessible to our children, and they have, open access to checking them out, whether it's in the facility with the old library card or whether they just get online, because you can check out books online now, if you didn't know. Not something I use, but I know that that's available. So we just want to discuss why that's still happening and how we in Arizona can fix it or try to fix it. And that's what my guest today really concentrates on among helping children in the trafficking areas, which she's a big proponent of and also works alongside others here in the state for that. So she's really just children-centric is the bottom line. And so we're going to start today. We have an article, if Robert wants to pull up number one. This is from our local reporter, Rachel Alexander. I have this blown up for myself. This happened in Chandler, Arizona. This is from September 23. So just mind you, I realize it is July 20 or August. I guess it's August. Is it August 1st today? Oh, happy August. Even though this was from 23, just understand it's not relevant. The dates aren't relevant to this story. It's been ongoing for several years. And even after the last administration was, exited from the White House, they've already put and implemented so much of this bad decision making into our public libraries, that it still remains. But this is from Chandler, and Rachel Alexander wrote about this. She's with the Arizona Sun-Times out here. She does a lot of great reporting. If you want to check out Rachel Alexander on her X, at Rach, RACH_IC. And this particular one, they had parents show up, a young woman named Audrey, who said she was the 2021 class president. She read from a book for 10-year-olds that discussed, Robert, am I allowed to say these words on my channels? The M word, the A word that has to do with getting rid of a baby before they're born. Oh, okay. I'm checking with my producer on words because sometimes when I type words in, even to my descriptions, they take my shows down apparently. But I saw Joe Rogan curse pretty heavily yesterday live. So I wonder why I can't just put something in writing. Anyway, I guess I'm going to say it. We'll see how it goes. So she read from the book that's meant for 10-year-olds in the library that discussed masturbation and abortion, a book about queer gender, strap-ons, and I'm not using the term, but oral sex. Okay. So I guess I'm going to have to be a little PC. Some of these words are, I don't know who's watching. And I mean, just warning today, there are probably some graphic things. I should probably say that at the beginning of the show, because we do have a video coming up third in the list or second in the list that is very graphic, but it's told by an 11-year-old boy at a meeting. So it's so funny that we have to put these graphic warnings on as adults, and I might get banned or censored for saying something in my description or even on my show when the kids are allowed to read the books. So I think that's hilarious, YouTube and Facebook. So anyway, she reads this book. It's called Will Puberty Last My Whole Life? And of course, the parents are complaining publicly. There is what we have as a library bill of rights. And I don't know if Lezley knows about this, but we're going to ask her about it because I hadn't heard about it before. And Joseph Yang, who is a young Republican here in Arizona, he volunteered at the Chandler Libraries, and he did serve as the former president of the Teen Advisory Council for the library. So he wanted to see a subcommittee to look at these books so that the public could review anything that's questionable. He does also have a podcast called the Conservative Soul Show. And I'm going to put that back in descriptions because he spells soul like Seoul, Korea. So we want to check him out. He's very active as a young Republican out here and does really good work. And then we are going to bring up, yes, Robert, thank you. Yeah, so that was number one that we just went through on the um on our graphics. And yes, that's part of the article from Rachel Alexander that I was just reading about. But the Montana Library Association is cutting ties with the woke ALA Library Association, identifying them with Marxist lesbian. Wow. New self-identified Marxist lesbian president of the Library Association, Emily Drabinski. So we have some people working behind the scenes in these organizations that are perpetuating this problem. And this is maybe why sometimes our counties and our states have a problem getting them out. Not that they can't get them out, but if the associations involved with libraries are proponents of this type of material, it probably does put a little bit more difficulty for us in the state to remove them from our child's eyes, right? So to speak. So number two, we're going to listen to, this is an Arizona dad. This is a video. It's about a minute, just over a minute. And he is testifying because, and this is Mesa City Council. So Mesa and Chandler, I just mentioned Chandler story, east side of town. I'm in Central Phoenix. But this happens everywhere. In Scottsdale, my kids went the north side. So it's literally around Phoenix everywhere, as it is in all the states and all the cities. So this one, he is skeptical about a proposed $700,000 increase to a city library contract after he says they have sexually explicit materials found in the children's section. So with that, Robert, I'll let you go on number two.
Our family loves Mesa's libraries, and my children enjoy visiting them often. However, like many parents, we are very concerned about the types of materials available, especially in the children's sections, where some books and articles have been found to be inappropriate and overly sexually explicit. We'd appreciate more information about how this funding will be used. And in that, is there an oversight committee that reviews the materials being purchased? If so, what is the name of that committee, if you can make that easy for us to find? And could you share how they determine which books to purchase and which books are not to be purchased? Is the decision-making process available to the public? Additionally, what role does the Library Association play in selecting books and other materials? We also want to ensure that the city is protected from potential legal issues such as those related to ARS 13-3505 regarding obscene prints and articles. We kindly ask for clear guidelines and oversight to keep our libraries safe and welcoming for all. Thank you.
I'm 11 years old and I go to Wyndham Middle School. I'm a 6th grader. I was in the library and this book was on a stand. I'd like to read you a page. my back over my hips as I ask if we should take our clothes off. And he's saying yes.
Check. Okay, we'll bring it back up. Okay. Okay. Okay, you guys. Potentially, I was muted for that entire segment lead up into my number 3. Robert is taking full responsibility in my ear from California because he's also trying to help me off screen with mutes. So it's a village. It takes a village for sure. But anyway, no big deal because all I was saying was our next video that we're bringing up is going to be an 11-year-old boy talking at the school library or school meeting. His father is present in the meeting. He comes on later. And what I was saying was the other gentleman who was at the Mesa City Council meeting, who we just heard from on video, asking that the $700,000 increase in budget for the contract for the library be reviewed a little bit more in depth because of the sexually explicit materials that have been found in the children's sections, and that that really, and also audiobooks. I mentioned audiobooks. So they're so accessible. You don't even have to go get the hard copy anymore. And kids can read whatever they want. And, some kids are going to do it innocently, check out the book and not really know. Maybe the cover looks interesting, which I think they try to make them look interesting. But some kids will do it on purpose because that's their access. Some kids look for access to things that they're not supposed to have. And they're really good at circumventing their parents. And if the libraries are perpetuating kids circumventing parents' morals and guidelines in the house, that's just something I think that we should really take a look at as communities across the nation, because the parents should still have the ultimate right as to what the kids are seeing before they are 16 or 18 years old going into their young adulthoods, especially in the six years old to, I would say, 14-year-old category. It's hard to stop them from seeing everything because everything is everywhere, right? And they go to Susie's house and Bobby's house, and they go after football games to kids' houses and after the dances. So you can't stop everything, but we should have at least the option of curtailing the information going into our kids' heads and in their eyes when they're so young that they can't process what they're even reading or hearing about. So with that, then we're going to go into this next video. This is a warning to our audience. It is a graphically told book reading by this young 11-year-old boy at this school board meeting. So I am giving you a graphic warning if you're listening now or later with your family members, you have kids around. I think that it's a good conversation starter, but you may not want them to hear all the words that he says in this video. So Robert, go ahead with number 3.
I'm 11 years old and I go to Wyndham Middle School. I'm a 6th grader. I was in the library and this book was on a stand. I'd like to read you a page. My back over my hips as I ask if we should take our clothes off. And he's saying yes before I finish my sentence. He's pulling off my t-shirt, laughing when I can't undo his shirt buttons. He's undoing my belt. I'm reaching into his bedside drawer for a condom. We're kissing. Again, we're rolling over. Obviously, you can see where this is going. I don't know if it's because we're feeling especially emotional or just tired, or these past couple of weeks have been too much. But this reminds me so much of the first time we had sex. We were both fucking terrified, and the whole thing was kind of terrible because we didn't know what we were doing. But it was good too, so good, because we were a mess of emotions, and we were scared and excited, and everything felt new. So this sort of feels like that. Nick touches me like he's scared that any minute. Now, this book was at my middle school, and it was on a stand. When I rented it out to show my dad it, the librarian asked if I wanted more and if I wanted a graphic novel version.
Dad's going to come on next, guys.
Oh, boy. So I'm that kid's father.
Okay, good. I was asking for you.
Yeah, I'll take another 3 minutes. So that's my son.
Okay.
11 years old, and went to his library and found that by the entry door of our library, this is the smut that he is finding, all right? I don't care whether it's gay, straight, bisexual, whatever the terms are for all this stuff, doesn't need to be at our school. Doesn't need to be at my 11-year-old's library. And then as far as genderqueer, I've got a son in the high school as well. And this is bullshit. We know it, all right? We do not need to be having literature that's showing boys how to suck dick, all right? I'm very, very frustrated about it, okay? And you may think that schools know the best for our children. You know who know the best for our children? The parents.
Yeah. So several explicit words. I forgot about Dad's input there, but I don't know if I need to apologize, because I mean, this is what it is. This is what they're putting in the schools. And so parents or the children who are getting their hands on these books to come up to the microphone and read at a school board council meeting or at the board of supervisors meeting for your counties, or at a library board meeting, whatever the case may be, regardless of who's reading the book. They used to shut mics off a couple of years ago. I don't know if you guys watched all of this unfold when it started, but they would shut mics off around the country when parents would come and read these books out loud at the meetings, which was hilarious because they wouldn't take the books out of the libraries. Sorry, it's not funny, but it is funny because the irony of it is so absurd. It's just ridiculous that this is happening. And these people are sitting behind these tables, operating these organizations, the libraries, all the access for the kids, and they have kids, they have grandkids, and yet they don't seem to think it matters for the other people's children who have access to some of what is the most inappropriate books I can even imagine being on the shelves of America's libraries in general. But that's kind of what we're setting up today. This is still happening. This is still a problem in Arizona. It has not gone away. They have not fixed it in our library systems in any of the cities around town that I know of yet, because I did testify to this a year and a half ago myself with our board of supervisors. I'm not playing that clip, but later when we're talking with our guest, Lezley, I'm going to play her clip from that same session that we testified about this to the board of supervisors. And so I wanted to let you know. So Lezley's a friend of the show. She's been with me before. She's been on my channel before. If you look at Patriot_Mom007, share, follow if you would like to do that, or just share, as I always say, just in case you don't need the information. Doesn't mean somebody else does not. So I appreciate the share no matter what else you choose to hit on the screen. And Lezley Shepherd is an Arizona mother. She's an activist and devoted protector of children's innocence across our state. She's a vocal leader in organizing parents and advocates who are demanding accountability and transparency from our elected officials. As someone who's testified at Board of Supervisors meetings and tirelessly works to keep explicit materials out of the hands of our youth, Lezley brings firsthand insight and unwavering courage to fight for our families and their children. So with that, we're going to welcome back to American Perspective, my friend and a really, really strong voice in Arizona for children's rights, Lezley Shepherd.
Thank you.
Hey,
So
nice to
sweet.
meet you.
Thank you.
So, yes, you have them into the new studio. So welcome to that.
Thank you.
And it was always somewhere different with me, right? Last
Right,
time
it's
it was
wonderful.
in the corner. We had a cute little setup, but now we have this. So I'm glad you could come in person today because I know
Thank
you
you
had
so
a conflict,
much.
but I'm glad you're here. So let's just get right into it because it's a pretty big topic. And I know that you have even more things to share with me than what we had even talked about. So you've been actively testifying. We're going to just go right in, right? Board of Supervisors, because Lezley and I know each other really well. So I don't think we need to do the whole meet and greet stuff, right? We're beyond the meet and greet for sure. But she and I, and she showed me how to testify at Board of Supervisors, actually, as she does everyone. She actually writes scripts to help people get in front of the microphone at the podium, which is really a scary thing.
Mhm.
You've got the people raised up behind their big desk, and then we're set back kind of in the middle of the walkway in the gallery. And it's nerve-wracking. Even if you have a podcast, even if you talk to people during the day, talking to a board of anything, it can be a little scary. The way they have it set up certainly lends itself to that.
Yes.
I think they make it right. They make it that way.
It's intentional.
So what first motivated you to get involved in this side of it, the Board of Supervisors, and now with the kids? And then we'll start with public awareness. Are you seeing a shift in the last year and a half with the public getting more involved?
Definitely seeing a shift, most certainly. What actually started getting me involved, period, was what I saw happening with, one, the border was open. You have trafficking happening at high levels.
Yep.
And so I knew I had to go to who, I couldn't stand politics, but I had to go to the people who were in charge. And so that unfortunately is dealing with people in politics. So that's where it began. And oddly enough, going to the board of supervisors, presenting to them things like remonstrance affidavits, dealing with the open border issue. People think, well, why go to the board of supervisors? They're not in charge of libraries. They're not in charge of this. The board of supervisors are a lot more in charge of things than people realize.
Right. Well, that's what I found out. All the money. They're in charge of all the
they've
money.
got
If you
the
didn't know,
money.
the county.
That's right.
This is the county. So we're talking
Yep.
Maricopa County,
Yep.
everyone. And you hear Maricopa County invoked in the elections, in the 2020 elections. It's actually coming back around again. They're posting things because they're finding all kinds
Yeah.
of haphazard
Yeah.
process things that they pretended didn't happen. And then we find out they did. So
Said it was a great election.
Great
all
election.
these other things.
Everything works perfectly. So the Board of Supervisors handles budgets across your county. Maricopa County is the third largest in the
It's
nation.
63% of the population of Maricopa is,
Central-
of Arizona is Maricopa.
Centralizing, yeah. So a lot of the money flows where the people go. And if you don't know, they are approving every other week. They have meetings, at least here it's every other week in Maricopa County. You have to go onto your .gov sites wherever you're listening from. I will say, please hop on your .gov sites, look up your board of supervisors, your school boards, and find out when their meetings are
Yeah.
so you can start attending. That's
Yes.
number one step. We'd like to give some resources and steps. So number one is look up where you guys are at. And every meeting, they have a list of projects around the county: buses, parks, libraries,
Zoning, stadium, the water district, but they
Roads.
also are in charge of the library.
and that's the big one because
They're
they put
the
the
library
money,
board.
right? And they get to put the
Yeah.
money where they want. So yeah,
Yeah.
tell us how the public has been getting involved with you the last year, and kind of start where we're at now. I haven't been to a BOS meeting in a year.
Right.
So I know there's a lot
And you did a
going on.
great job when you came out there because you got to confirm something. I guess the clip that you're going to be sharing is the day that we talked about a certain book, because you have to unfortunately put it right in their face. I actually got emotional listening to that little boy because I'd never heard him before. And it angered me so much to know that our innocent little children, their minds are being perverted by this. For me, I come in from the perspective of God. It says that in our minds, we become enemies to Christ. So what they're doing is they're attacking our children's minds. And enough believers are not realizing that this attack on our children, we're all going to be held accountable for it. In Revelations 2:20, it's important to state, he says to the churches, I hold this against you. You tolerated the teachings of that woman Jezebel, who led my children into sexual immorality. Now, I'm going to stop right there. It talks about idols and food and stuff, but it's important for us to stop there. He says, I hold this against you. You tolerate it. And that is a responsibility that if you're a believer at all, that's a wake-up call. That our toleration level to this abuse of our children on their minds is unacceptable. There's laws, all kinds of laws in place. We just don't know them, and we don't expect them to follow them, but that's changing, and it's changing now.
But even though we don't know them, all of these associations, all of the organizations that run our cities and counties, including our library associations, they know what the laws are.
They're obligated.
They're not
If they
following
don't,
them.
then they've been
That's right.
finding out right now.
Yes, Leslie's very good. She brings the receipts. Let me tell you what, she has so much information she's been compiling for the last couple of years. Her effectiveness is growing by the day here in our county. And that's why we wanted to have her on, because it's been a little while till we checked in, and there's so much that happened since the last time I spoke with her, leaps and bounds actually. So I want to bring up, speaking of the Board of Supervisors and us testifying about a year or so ago, I want to bring up number 4, Robert. It's Lezley at the Board of Supervisors on these library books and funding. Let's hear what she has to say about that. And that'll be number 4. Yeah. So, okay. Sorry. Robert has to bring up that link. It wasn't a download. So he's going to pull that Facebook link. And by the way, if you guys want to find Lezley on any of the channels, Facebook is at Lezley Of course, this is on the lower thirds, you guys, because Lezley is with a Z, Ley. So look at the lower thirds. You can see her down there. And then she's on Instagram, X, and also her or I'm sorry, her Gmail, which you can email her directly, is take a stand, EPH for Ephesians 5 dot 11, yes, at gmail.com. Also down there, also in the descriptions on my shows at Patriot_Mom007, and on X it's PMom007. And just waiting for Robert to key that up. He'll let me know when that's ready. And so get online, look at the descriptions. We do try to bring you resources every week, and this will be no different. Actually, last week, since we're talking about that, I brought you the resource Bold Mission, right? Deborah Boblet was on. She was a guest on our show. Really great Arizonan here. She's also very active helping women in their entrepreneurial, journeys, getting back into the workforce. And we talked about steps, how you can do that. So find all the resources online, and Patriot_Mom007, you guys, if you don't tune in on Friday at noon, which we are here every week, you can catch us on the replays on all the channels on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and X. Arizona Live Daddy. Check that out though. The shows aren't posted, but there's a lot of good information on there. And so with that, Robert has our number 4 queued up. We're going to hear from Lezley herself. No sound. And he's bringing sound up, so we might do a replay on this one. Yeah.
Do you want me to tell them in the background? I don't mean
so,
to.
oh yeah, no, that's okay. Oh, you don't. Oh, okay, so go ahead and run it, Robert, and let me have, I'm gonna bring it up here on screen for her so she can see right here. And when you run it, she'll just talk over it and explain.
Oh, it's not gonna play.
It's there. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. No more. There you go.
Oh. So basically what we're just letting them know there is to know the responsibility they have, because people in the audience or different people have said that the library is not responsible, or excuse me, the Board of Supervisors is not responsible. Absolutely. They're funders. They hold the purse strings, and that's the point. It's kind of like the analogy was, you got the person who sells the baggie to the person, and when they get caught, they think that person's the only person that broke a crime. Who equipped that person to have all that the bad stuff? Well, the library district and the school district is funded by the Board of Supervisors, right? And they've been told for 3 years about these books. But now we have official stuff that's going on behind the scenes, where we're actually taking notarized detailed information, sending it certified receipt to these officials. So now this is not an email that you can easily throw away. This is not a letter that you can discard. This is an official document. I don't know if people know that the moment you notarize a document, it becomes an official document. The minute you send it certified receipt through the mail system, it becomes a federal issue. So the Attorney General, the Sheriff's Office, the Education Department, even the investigators of the Education Department have been informed, as well as the FBI have all been informed about these crimes against children, as well as the libraries are now getting completely updated as to what's going on, because fighting all these individual battles, we have laws that are in place of people who are mandated to do this. These school boards, they are mandated to report this. They're on a school board. They are mandated to protect children.
It's just like in the classroom.
Optional.
It's like the teachers, if they see something that happens to the kids, they do have a legal obligation, not just a moral one. The moral one should just be the thing. But nonetheless, if they don't have any morals of their own, they are legally obligated by their position taking care of children to report things that could harm children. And this would fall under that category of harming children. And some people would say, oh, it's just, a book, or it's just pictures in a book. But kids at a certain age, and it depending on what their lifestyle is in their homes or what upbringing that they are accustomed to, it could be very damaging, traumatically, mentally, emotionally, especially at the younger ages, 6, like I said, through 14 to 16 years old even. I mean, really even to 18 in some households, because a lot of households are turning now to be more reserved with their children. They're getting rid of cell phones. They are trying to manage that. And so you don't know what the household looks like. And it's not up to the library or the school boards or the board of supervisors to determine whether or not that it's okay for any child at any time to see some of this, what we heard this young 11-year-old read earlier. So we're going to talk because you actually brought me something. And I had different questions for her. We were going to do a little bit more general overview, but she's been working really, really diligently on this specific issue. And she actually has been compiling a lot of information. So we're going to go into the information because it's pretty intricate. And a lot of times when we talk about things in public, like let's say elections, and they start naming all this stuff off of all the, ramps, on ramps, off ramps, how things get cheated or misuse, whatever. People lose track because it is a big ball of wax, right?
It is.
This is no different. So Robert, can you bring up the number 5 graphic, that chart that I sent you late last night? Just keep it side screen or whatever part of the screen you can keep it. I never know where he can put the stuff I give him because I don't always know how that works back there, but he's really good at figuring it out. So it might not be in the middle, like if you were on Zoom with me. I don't know where he's going to put it. But anyway, this, do you have a copy here of this by chance?
I didn't.
Okay, that's okay. He's going to bring it up. Okay, so what we're looking at is a graph. You created this, I assume.
Yes.
Yes. So at the top is our Attorney General. Oh, there it is. Perfect. It's on screen now.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead, Lezley. Let me blow this up for you.
Sure.
And everybody can see that as well. I'm going to have you explain what this is that you created.
These are all the people in positions of mandated reporters or people who are obligated to respond when it comes to talking about crimes against children. Just a real quick, I wanted to mention there is a law that states you cannot show material to a child without getting a parent's permission.
And what law is that?
And that's ARS 133620. Oh, actually, that's the mandated law. ARS 15113 is if you have to get permission from the parents.
So it actually says ARS. This is Arizona revised statutes. Every state has revised statutes. Yep. Again, get online, look at your .gov sites. You have to understand your resources, like we say. And I will say later, if you're going to get involved, you have to get educated to understand what's going on. Thank God, if you have somebody like Lezley in your community, by the way, and Robert, you can keep me off. It's okay. Find her. She knows everything. They're doing this
learning
for a living, practically, not getting paid. But this statute says parents' rights. Wait, which one are we on? The 630-620?
Well, that's the one that child abuse reporting. In other words, the school boards. I want to mention when people say, well, we're trying to talk to the school boards. What you need to do is give them the laws that state, for instance, ARS 133620 about they have to report child abuse. They've been told that this perversion is going on. There's ARS 133507 that you cannot have harmful sexual material.
Furnishing harmful items is the statute.
There is an age, and actually that when you're 18 years of old, it doesn't matter if they say, oh, well, we moved it from the child's department into the juvenile. Well, you've just effectively moved it into a minor's department still.
Right. So these are laws on the books that we're talking about. So when you hear people talking, and you can still kick me off, Robert, when you hear people talking about these things and they're at the board meetings and they're maybe yelling, maybe they're upset, maybe they're raising their voice, they're going off of laws. These are not crazy people coming up with ideas of their own that they're just trying to put a stop to things. So let's go back to the chart. Let's start with our Attorney General, Chris Mays, at the top and kind of work our way around and let us know what this is.
Well, actually, what I did is the original one started with the Board of Supervisors. And then after I dealt with the Board of Supervisors, who's in the center of that graph, I then went to the authorities that dealt with them, which is the Attorney General, to the Sheriff's Department, and also the police. I've also contacted the police, and that's a whole other can of worms, but we'll get into that at another time. But so the police are aware of it, the sheriff, and how they're aware of it. It's important that you guys know, get something notarized, be very specific as to the laws that are being violated. And then you send them certified return receipt. Now you have now taken this document, this communication, you've taken it from email and letter form or a conversation, you've now made an official document. And then when you send it return certified receipt, you now have your proof that they've received this. I would encourage you to film it I have the post person put it inside the envelope. Why? Don't tell me that it wasn't in there. I literally have film with it going in there. So everything is to hold them accountable. Why are we doing that? Because ultimately, if the children are not going to be protected, if the librarians who have also been contacted, the Board of Education, Tom Horn and Shelley Boggs and Dejana, who is the chief deputy of the superintendents, get the people involved. The education department, I called their education department, spoke to their investigator, got his information. I then uploaded and gave them an email that had the return or the notarized letter that was sent to Tom Horn and Shelley Boggs. So now what you do is you create it to that you've collectively created a spider web of accountability, so that if this does not get dealt with, which is why I'm very grateful that she put take a stand, EPH 5.11@gmail.com. We're going to have a website coming up soon. A lot of very concerned people are wanting to help. I'm limited on what I can do. I'm willing to go and find these things out, but this will be up. So if you'd like to get involved, because we are going to take action to hold accountable these libraries and these schools regarding this content, because as she said, it's been years going on. Well, guess what? It's time for accountability. It is time for us to now quit talking. It is time for us to make this official. And if you'd like to be involved, I would love to have your help. It's called Take a Stand, EPH 5.11@gmail.com. Website will be coming, and then I can fill you in at a deeper level of what will be going on.
Perfect. So the point is that she's making is there are a lot of people involved in all of these aspects,
Yes.
that are happening in our communities. And so you do have to know who the players are. Sheriff Jerry Sheridan, who by himself is a great guy. They get into office. He's our new sheriff here in Maricopa County, again, one of the largest in the United States. And so, but we do have a couple at the top, of course, Chris Mays, our Attorney General, who questionably is in office right now still. The question exists. And of course, our Governor, Katie Hobbs, who just vetoed another Title IX Bill of Rights for women.
And children, protection of children.
Yeah.
Third year in a row, she did not sign
right?
it regarding the protection of children.
That's
and
right.
I'm going to say this might ruffle some feathers. Who installed these people? 4 Republicans on the Board of Supervisors. Do not think this is a Democrat issue. They would not be in place if these Board of Supervisors were actually doing the elections according to the Constitution and the laws. And if they were actually, we all know that Katie Hobbs was involved with that election, and she did not recuse herself, and yet they still certified it. With all the people that showed up that day to talk about all the discrepancies, they still certified it. Do not think this is just a Democrat issue.
And just so you know, Katie Hobbs was our Secretary of State, so she ran the election
At the time.
At the time, she was going to be governor or trying to be governor, and she did not step down as the person, the arbiter of the election process. And then she basically put herself in as governor and said, "There's nothing to see here. I'm governor now. Let's swear me in."
And then under color of law, she violated the law, and she forced those other counties. The one county that was holding that,
She said that you can't, if you recount, or if you look at the process for the election, that we will cut what your funding. Is that what it was? Something like that.
They were going to go after them. Lawfully, they're going to take them, threaten them, to the full extent.
That's right. That's right.
And that's coercion. So even that certification, what a joke. You can't, that's under color of law. That's under duress.
That's right. So these things are very intricate, and I know it does get to be a big ball of wax.
It is a ball of wax.
And people think, "Oh my gosh, this is too much. I can't deal with it. I don't want to know."
Revelations 2:20. I just want to appeal to you guys. If you're not a God-fearing person, then I pray for you to find our Savior. But if you are someone who believes in our Savior, He's not going to tolerate our toleration of this. Our tolerance toward this will be held against everyone who claims to be a believer. You better read Revelations 2:20 if you think that I'm just tossing out some information.
So a lot, always resources, right? So you have to know where you stand on these issues. And if you do follow, a higher guidance, then that would be your defining, pathway. If you don't, you can always look into it. And I know Lezley is very rooted in her beliefs, and she doesn't just say them out loud. I can tell you a lot of people will spout this verse or that verse, but she legitimately, I can assure you, lives everything she says. So just know that when I bring somebody on like this, I just want to set the tone that there's a lot of people that say a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know.
And they just know the words.
He said, "Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, didn't I do this? Didn't I do that?" And he says, "I don't know you."
See,
That's
so
in Matthew 7:21.
I love that Lezley knows her scripture because it really, she does very, I find it to be the most intelligent, like people like Ray, our friend Ray, like just genius when you can really know what things say and you can interpret them and then relate them back to people in lessons of life in the moment. That's strong.
Thank you.
So we have all these people doing all these things against our children. They know it's happening because we have, look, we have a list of statutes. That's what she was showing me is, oh, Robert hates when I do this. Anyway, Arizona revised federal statutes. You can get a list for yourself and find out what laws they're breaking as you're paying their salaries. And they come up on the next ballot for your vote, which will happen here in 26. For some of them, I think
We're not waiting for 26 for this accountability. Just to let you guys know, if we wait for elections, which I already told you that Democrats and Republicans are both equally responsible in this. If you're waiting for a politician to do this, it'll never happen. If you're waiting for a public servant to do this, it'll never happen. It will be us collectively coming together and using the resources of the law and the exact ways that we have to go about it to hold them accountable.
Okay, so that's okay, right. So get involved now. Don't necessarily wait
Don't
just
wait.
for the elections because
Do not.
some things can be affected prior to elections.
Our children's minds are every day. A little girl just now found out today what a body part of a boy looks like. A little boy learned what inside of a girl's what looks like because these books are readily available and these covers are designed to draw them to go open it up and bam, then it happens. Not supposed to happen that way.
Exactly. So that's why we're bringing this up again because it's happening every day. Our kids' minds are already traumatized by so many things they see. They shouldn't be exposed to things negatively in their protected space of their school and library environments. I mean, if nowhere else, they should be safe there today. They already have to deal with school shootings and bullying and all kinds of other things. This should not be one of those, right? And so when you go down, when people go to the Board of Supervisors, let's talk resources for a minute. You go down to your Board of Supervisors and then what is give our process so people know kind of what a process might look like if they feel like getting involved. Let's help them there.
Well, the next one is on the 20th of August and it's at 205 West Jefferson. When you come in, you have to be there by 10 minutes after 9 because they're making it very hard. They don't want to hear what we have to say. So they insist that we be there by, no, excuse me, not 10 minutes after 9, 10 minutes after the meeting starts, which is at 9:30, it's supposed to. And then we turn in speaker slips. They narrowed us down to that only you can speak on 2 agenda items, which is why it got me very creative. And people now grab something to speak on and some of them write their own, some of them go and modify it. It's not about, follow what I've given you. No, here's a guideline to encourage you to get up there. And people have been putting things on record, which is going to come into play when we hold these people accountable for not doing what they need to do to protect our children, which is their number one priority. The vulnerability of our children should be the most important thing they take care of.
Absolutely.
The most important thing. I say, after your relationship with the Father, but if you don't have a relationship, there's many wonderful people that are not believers, but they are disgusted by what they see happen. So let that even motivate you, especially if you're a believer.
That's right. And so it's up to us to remind them who they are working for and ultimately saving and protecting the kids should be utmost like number one on their job list. So we have so you go into your Board of Supervisors, wherever your office is located. Ours is downtown Phoenix, and they have forms to fill out. I assume
they have a nice board they put up now since you've been there. It just happened at the last one. I went and complimented them left and right. I said, oh gosh, that's so helpful. Right when you walk in, it has a board up there now and it kind of makes it very clear what it's there for. Okay. And then there's a regular group of people that consistently do their civic duty and you'll see us.
And civic duty, we talk about getting involved. You don't have to run for office. I do say, like, if you can run for school board or get involved at the lower levels, know, it does help if you are conservative minded, I guess, and really trying to protect your community members. But there's civic duty in all forms, whether it's door knocking or passing out, information for elections to your neighbors or hosting a meet and greet for a candidate where people can hear them firsthand, or going down to your county and board meetings or your school board meetings and letting them hear from you as a constituent who is paying their salary. So you go in, you fill out your form, they collect all the forms, and then they
film them. because they don't
and
call
yes.
them all the time.
And
So
they-
now we've learned to
yes.
film them, so we
Yep.
have proof.
And so Lezley found out they would put forms in and they would never call on the people, and they would wait 2.5 hours or so, 3 hours through the board meeting, and they would just not call their names. And they make the public comments be at the end.
Yeah.
So you have to sit through the
On
entire
purpose.
board and budget meetings until you're allowed your, now, what is it? You say minute? Is it minute or 2?
2 minutes.
Still 2 minutes. Okay. So you're waiting 3 hours at 9 in the morning, killing a half a day to
Amazing.
say 2 minutes worth of your opinion, which is also ridiculous.
But it's important though. It's not an unimportant 2 minutes, because what gets on record cannot be erased. Even though I'm talking about the YouTube, I've noticed they started muting certain parts where they were abusing people. Luckily, I turn on my camera and other people do as well.
So you get your 2 minutes, you get up to the microphone. We saw Lezley, we didn't hear it, but we saw her. You say your piece and then you sit down.
Mhm.
And typically what we saw across every single vote was if we were speaking on a budget or something of that nature, we would all speak, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 people, 10 people would speak, and then they would say, okay, we're going to take the vote. And of course, it was all contrary opinion to what they were voting on. And they would, and this is the last board. Now we have new board members in this year. So just want to let you know, things have, a couple people have changed out the last election, but then they just vote. Then they say, how do you vote? And they all voted against everything everyone got up and spoke about every single time.
No, they voted for it.
I'm sorry,
People spoke against
it. They voted against the people's
Yes.
opinion, and they voted for that item on the agenda going through, regardless of what they heard in testimony from the people who showed up and spent a half a day in their chambers. So where are you finding this year with, we did have some new BOS Board of Supervisors installed.
Yeah.
Where are we at with that panel, so to speak?
Well, I was hoping for change, and we came
Yes,
into
we
it
were.
very positive, very complimentary,
We
finding
did.
positive things about each one of the new ones. And all they've effectively shown us is that our First Amendment rights being taken away, not a big deal to them.
Right.
Being minimized to only speak on 2 agenda items when you've got 130 there and we're the governing authority, not a big deal to them.
Right.
The school books being brought to their attention, they actually at the last Board of Supervisors meeting justified that the superintendent of the schools, Shelley Boggs, this was stated by McGee and Galvin, that she has a limited scope. No, she does not have a limited scope.
We're going to talk a little bit too about that. That's what I'm trying to get a hold of you all week
Oh.
about. Yeah, that's okay. I just think there might be a little bit of misconception about what her department can do at this moment. So
I have actually found out what she can do.
okay, good. So we're
Yeah.
gonna have an
Yeah.
off-camera conversation. Shelley Boggs, who I also know very well, is our new
Tom
superintendent
Horn.
of public instruction, and Tom Horn, our superintendent in Maricopa County. They have reached out actually, and they do want to have a conversation
Well,
with
that's
you.
nice. It'd be nice if they
And-
reached out to the
and-
very person who's been reaching out to them.
She emailed you but couldn't connect on the schedule.
She did not email me, just to be clear.
Oh,
Her
okay.
assistant
Well,
did.
here's
She
what we're
texted
gonna
me
do.
and then she didn't.
Her
But just to
assistant,
be clear,
her assistant, I'm sorry.
I don't like when people try to create a facade.
And by her, I should have said assistant, because she
Okay.
does have the schedule,
That's
but
what their assistant.
but she does want to have a dialogue, and we're going to do that. We're going to do that off camera, something to report back. So
Okay.
just know that that is in the works, and it's
That'd
a
be
positive, and it's a
fantastic.
very positive line of
That'd be
communication.
fantastic.
I can assure you that. I'm gonna help facilitate that, because we want the more people involved in the good fight as the better, right? And
Good.
that sometimes just takes conversation, communication.
That'd be great.
Right? And she's definitely in a wanting to help the situation position. We had that conversation, she and I, last week. So we're going to
Okay.
go from there. But the people sitting on the board, we have a couple newbies, so to speak. We have our ex-Congresswoman, Debbie Lesko,
Mhm.
who was she was my Congresswoman actually in CD8. Now she's sitting on the board. We had high hopes. And who's the second person? Is that?
There's Kate Brophy McGee,
Brophy
and there's
McGee.
also Mark Scott. I mean,
Oh.
Mark Stewart.
And Mark Stewart, I'm not familiar with. Kate, yeah,
He's in District 1.
Brophy McGee, I am. So we have 3 new people. They're Republican, right? The R's by their name.
Mhm.
Are they all not being helpful?
Well, all I know is that I'm going to stick to the in February. What brought a lot of people's attention to the Board of Supervisors was them not allowing a disabled man to be able to speak when somebody else was yielding their time to him.
Okay.
And not one of them, that was something I challenged them all with. I said, one of you could make a motion. Not one of them made a motion. And when you're hearing, Thomas Galvin is now effectively, in the last board meeting, 90% of our agenda was off limits to the governing authorities. 90%
That-
off limits
That you couldn't
that we weren't allowed to
participate.
have a conversation about.
So they have a public
And
agenda.
they all were okay with that. Matter of fact, Mark Stewart went on record on the 29th of January saying it was an effective use of time.
So they have a public agenda that they don't allow the public to speak on. That's what she's referring
The
to.
governing authorities.
Or the governing authorities. So they basically cut people off from participating in the process by just muting them effectively by saying you just can't talk on this. We won't hear from you on
They
this.
don't even say that. They just don't call your they just don't
Don't
call
call
your
you
speakers
to
clip.
right.
And then if you say something, they go, "Oh, we have rules. There's policies. There's rules." Well, their policies and rules usually are hogwash because I've looked them up and they don't exist. It's called, they use discretion of the chair to justify how they do a lot of what they do. And guess what? In the oath of office, I looked at it very specifically. It never says, when he says they're going to uphold the Constitution, it never has a disclaimer says, unless discretion of the chair decides otherwise.
Right. So the rules are meant to be broken as far as they're concerned. That's a big problem we've seen in a lot of the state and county circumstances, whatever the level is, whether it's the elections, the school boards, now the libraries, the board of supervisors, they do like to break their own
Abuse of power.
and the abuse of power is real. Lezley deals with it every single day. But you have been able to make some headway in this area, despite all of the challenges, because you are going there every week. She's there every other Wednesday, twice a month.
During the summer, it's once a month.
Oh, so they cut it back.
Yeah, because it's too hot, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I don't mind. I don't mind.
I
It
know
gives me a
she
little
would be there.
reprieve,
They
you know.
probably want a little vacation time too, I'm
Yeah.
guessing, right? Because their salaries, they're probably spending them on their vacations.
Yeah.
But you can make headway if you go. So the point is you do need to get involved. And then what are you finding now with where we're at on this particular subject, now that you have brought them the receipts, so to speak, the statutes, everything's been put on record this past year and a half, really. You've been working at this for a while, and there's a lot of records that have gone in.
A lot of
And
things on the record.
So where are we in the next steps as far as getting, I know you've worked with Jerry Sheridan, our sheriff. You met with him a few times now since he came in the beginning of the year. And I think he's been very receptive to speaking with you. I don't know if it's yielded exactly what we'd hoped as quick as we would like, right? But where are we on the process of what you're trying to accomplish with the BOS and maybe some of the other agencies that you've tried to get involved?
Well, as far as the BOS, I'm going to put them just in the one category, just the people in positions of power. We're at the stage now where we're going to start taking active steps toward the libraries, but definitely now we've applied the proper responsibility on the powers that be, so that they understand that when we pursue this includes the police department, when we pursue this issue with the libraries, we absolutely expect them to do their oath that they swore to uphold.
Right.
Period. End of story. No favoritism. It doesn't matter if I love somebody to death. If they're not upholding their oath, that is going to bite them when this is all said and done.
That's right.
Because we are not going to play passive with this.
No.
This is going to be dealt with before the next election. We're not waiting for an election. Children's innocence is being stolen. When you mess up a child's growth trajectory because they see something or experience something, you've now messed them up.
Right.
So we're not tolerating that anymore.
Right. And you can't really regain that for them.
You
Because
can't.
a lot of times people don't even know it's happening.
They
what
don't.
They've been exposed to. And this is across the board, whether it's trafficking in the home.
That's
And I
right.
just was looking at this the
That
other day.
sets children up to be trafficked
That's
and
right.
to be sexually abused. All this content.
Takes their barriers down.
Absolutely.
And their safety, what they've been taught is a safe zone where they should keep their boundaries. If things are being infiltrated into their minds and their souls, really at young ages, even just by a graphic book, which would be a graphic novel, graphic novel used to be a comic book. Now a graphic novel is a porn book in library stores and library shelves. Also ironic. But yeah, you don't know where where they're at in their emotional learning and where their household is at. And so it could really do some serious damage in many ways, not just their
absolutely.
psyche growing up through their teens, their puberty, but also to make them more susceptible to the predators we know exist literally all around us.
And the one gal, she literally said what the effects of those books do, it creates more child on child sexual assault.
Right.
Because they now are taught this is normal.
Which we see happening. I mean, kids assault kids.
That's why it's
all the time.
That's why even there's more anger in children.
Right.
When you are emotionally, you've been altered, you've been harmed, it causes consequences. So what's happening right here needs to be taken very serious by all authorities, because we're expecting you to.
And people who want to get involved, let's talk about how people do get involved, because that's really a resource we want to provide. Where do people go? Let's just say Arizona, because I can't speak to your state, but get on your .govs. There are Facebook community groups that probably champion this all day long. If you look this up on Google, use it for your good, not their good. You can find ways of reaching out yourself and getting involved. And you don't have to have kids in school, by the way.
You don't. I don't have kids in school.
No, you do not. And when I testified, my kids were already almost aged out, my youngest, and library wasn't an issue, but it didn't matter. It's more about helping your community and those people around you, because not everybody is strong enough to go do this or have the resources or the time at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. So if you do, and you care about your community, or you care about your niece or your nephew, your grandkids, your neighbors, that's when you do want to step up in your community duty and get involved civically. Yes. So how can people get involved here in Arizona?
Well, I will apologize because I don't have a breakdown of that. I didn't bring that with me. If you email me at take a stand,
that's good enough.
EPH511@gmail.com, I will send you to other resources and give you other people that are working. I want to recommend a gentleman by the name of John Amachuka. He's actually taken the initiative to go around throughout the United States and read these books in front of board members. And I think that is admirable on his part. He came here to the Tempe High, and that's where I got to meet him. I got to, it was fantastic. I have to send you that link. We'll send you some stuff that you can get from her as well. And I want you to see the testimony of this 16-year-old girl stating the dangers. This is a 16-year-old girl. You know, the category that they say it's good, it's okay. No, it's not okay. It still normalizes this sexual content, which is absolutely law after law after law after law lets us know it is against the law.
Right, all the laws. It's against all the laws.
It's against the law.
Not even one. It's against every statute.
Law. I mean, we've got federal laws that are being violated. You got U.S. Code Section 1470. You got U.S. Code Section 2252.
Which one?
We're moving this across the United States. We don't want to leave any child left behind to this abuse.
And just so you know, these federal statutes are they're very broad in what they say: transfer of obscene materials to minors. So transferring would be on the shelf of the library, handing it to them in class, sending it to them online through audiobooks. And then sexual exploitation of children, 18 U.S. Code 2252. So that would fall under the umbrella of sexually exploiting them by providing them these inappropriate materials for their age. Yes.
The 11-year-old.
I know.
There you go.
That young boy saying that.
He's a little kid.
If my kids at 11 had.
That's why I was crying. I was like, oh, I never heard that.
I don't even know what I would have done I don't even know what I would have done.
I'm very proud of that parent.
Oh, I know.
If you're going to let my child read it, you need to hear what you are putting in front of my child.
That's right. I agree. I'm so glad that they're letting their kids speak out now, because even the kids are uncomfortable. You know, you see these kids reading this stuff, and they shouldn't have to read it in public. But the fact that they are strong enough to do that and let people know that it's uncomfortable for them as young children says so much. And if these parents and grandparents who sit on these boards and these budget committees would just only listen to the kids, like don't listen to the crazy screaming moms and dads, because we probably can get a little overboard in our exuberance.
No offense. I'm going to argue with that. I know. Sullivan versus New York Times. That is literally from our actual Supreme Court ruling. You can cuss and scream at them. Nobody's cussing and nobody's screaming. We are tired of them allowing our children to be abused.
And so Leslie's vehement about the subject, and that's why I had her on, because to hear her video, that I'm sorry you couldn't hear the audio, it really says a lot, the way she presents things, because of her total devotion to helping the kids. It's not really just, I'm taking a position, I'm an activist, I'm holding a sign on the street.
And I'm not running for a title
And
for
she's
anything.
not running, although we do want you to run. But she's not running currently. But she would be the kind of people we want to elect into these offices because we know where she stands at the beginning. And I'm going to reference a real quick thing right now, totally off topic, but this guy in New York, Mamdani, they're hearing all this new stuff about, oh, he's not anti-police, he's not anti-defunding. But if you go back to the beginning of videos, which thank God we have those now forever, listen to the beginning words. When you hear people like Lezley talk at the beginning 2 years ago on her videos testimony, or you hear her now, her message is consistent. And that's when you know those are the people you want to elect or have help you in your communities, because you know that their standard is the same and it has not fluctuated based on what they're doing, what they're getting hired for, what they're trying to go for. So now we have our board that they're still listening, right? They're still listening to testimony. Nothing's changed.
You know, when I film them, when people are talking, they're chatting with each other.
Or are they doing this?
Yeah.
And they're not paying attention. That's a thing. That is a thing in meetings, and that's not an okay thing. They should all be very present with what's happening with their constituents. And then we're talking with Jerry Sheridan. Where can we find a way to move? What's the next level if this stuff isn't working, which it's not as effective as you would hope? What's the next level of taking this to them?
We're preparing for court.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Preparing for court.
I knew you were, so tell us about that.
Yeah, we are actually putting it together now. What we're getting together, that's why I'm telling people specifically, get it notarized, send it return certified receipt. You can send it to me. I can scan it through and include it with the other mailings that we're going to be doing, because we are absolutely taking it to the libraries as well, and the city mayors, because they're in charge of their city libraries, which they're mandated also, and we'll be getting it to the libraries as well. But we just wanted to make sure that the top officials all understood the seriousness of this. They understood that it was an official document. They understood that it was now a federal issue, because we are actually working with people in other states that we are just at a non-tolerance level regarding this issue.
Okay, so sometimes we do have to escalate things to the court level. And I think after, some people say, oh, everybody's litigious, everybody wants to go to court. But after you've tried and you've gone through the processes the way that they have it set up to make people fail, really is what happens, then you do have to elevate it. And it's good to know that here in Maricopa County, that we are going to take it to the next level. And by we mean Lezley Shepherd.
Well,
do you
not
have help?
just me. It's really not just me. It's a lot. There's a lot of people.
Okay.
I'm just the one that's actually willing to send it.
Well,
because I've also, well, it is. But there's wonderful, absolutely devoted patriots behind the scenes that are doing this. I couldn't do this.
So it takes a village.
Absolutely.
And you still have, I'm glad to hear that you still have help, because I know the work that you put into this, even helping others at the BOS meetings get there to talk. It's a nonstop workflow for you.
Yes.
And I see her do this all the time. So we have, the suit, the court suit, do you have somebody on board helping you to file? Do you have
we have people in place that are, I'm not giving names
Okay.
because I don't trust, unfortunately, our government. I don't believe in Republican and Democrats. I believe that there's wonderful people in each one of those institutions, especially the Republican Party, not to put down the Democrat Party, but let's face it, when you're okay with killing babies and you make a celebration about it, it's not okay.
Right.
So anyhow, I just will say that there's a lot of people who are very concerned and are taking the right steps to say enough is enough.
So we have this going. What's a time frame for us to see here as constituents that have kind of followed this or try to get involved when we can? What does this look like? It's mid 2025. Things do take a while in court, obviously. Where are we at in this process that people might say, oh my gosh, look at what's happening. This is happening in Arizona. We can do this in Mississippi.
Sure.
And use
absolutely.
It
and that's what we're hoping to do, because we've actually put together the 50 states and the laws that are comparable to our laws that can make it to where that you can effectively go and do these things yourself, to where that you get something notarized, you do it, return certified receipt. The most time consuming part, and I'm just going to state this because you live in your own state, is to call and make sure that you're sending it to the right address. That is one of the most time consuming thing to me, is that when I send this certified receipt, I want to make sure it's going to exactly who I want it to go to.
Okay, so there's a lot of steps involved, and that's why it's important to really get
And things are
educated.
getting narrowed down.
Right, and they do get narrowed down, but
Mhm.
there just are a lot of steps. So you might be starting at the top step where we started going to your meetings, finding out who in your community is working on these things for your children's benefit, and then just getting in touch with them so that you can start following the steps, whether it's here in Arizona. And if it is here in Arizona with Lezley, then you're going to want to get in touch with her, and you are going to want to connect with her at Take a Stand EPH5.11@gmail.com. Again, it's on the bottom of the screen, as well as her Facebook, Instagram, and X accounts. She also has It Is Our Duty. She has a Rumble and YouTube channel. We haven't mentioned that yet. And there are some really great shows up there through the last couple of years to
And I'm
look
new
at.
at doing it. So just to let you know, it's at a beginner stage, but it was my way of documenting things. So I have somebody that's going to help me with a website because I'm technically challenged that way. And so it'll be a lot nicer. But my focus is not to create a website. My focus is to help a movement to
There
stand up
she
for
is.
children.
There's It Is Our Duty up there on Facebook. So check out her videos too, because you might just learn some things just by watching, just even testimony. Honestly, people's testimony
Yeah.
is pretty eye-opening, and I had not heard it before going myself. So I very highly recommend that you even go sit in. You can sit in on your court cases, you can sit in on school board meetings, you can hear all your utilities. I talk about JData 17, Robert, my producer in Chula Vista, he does all live streaming from all of these agencies out there in Chula Vista, where you can hear firsthand what the police are talking about, what the school boards are talking about, with just a camera and no edits, so you understand the full context. And sometimes you do have to go and take your time in your community to understand what's happening before you can even help it or get involved in a way of that nature. Do we have more here? Because you have a lot of information, I
Yeah.
know.
Well, that's it. I mean, I've just, got some basic stuff there, but, I even have stuff, scriptures, because again, I'm putting stuff together to appeal to the believers,
Right.
churches,
Right.
and give them a chance to take action.
And they've kind of been deterred away from
They
really being
have.
involved. COVID really
That
put a
501c, well,
Yeah.
I'll also say the 501c, there's nobody who's had theirs removed. It's a sit down, roll over, and don't do anything type
To
of
get
rule
your-
that to get your clergy to not do anything.
Ah.
We're the governing authority. People don't realize that, Matt. When they talk about Romans, that we need to submit to the governing authorities, they don't realize we, the people, are the governing authorities. The reason things have become a muck is because we have stopped doing our job. We let these hired hands come in and change the rules and flip the switch the script, and now we're
Yep.
taking control back.
Yes.
We, the people, are taking
And we do
control.
have to take control back, because if we don't do it, our kids' lives are just kind of wayward.
Yes.
And we can see from the Youth of America, I had Kirsten Chavkin on a couple weeks ago. Her son was assaulted here at Desert Ridge at our mall in the North Valley from 3 other teens from around high schools around Arizona, and badly beaten, and they're being prosecuted. But these are kids on kids crimes, and this doesn't start, these kids who are committing crimes against other teenagers or adults now in their homes, like, they don't just one day wake up and be like, I'm going to be this terrible
No,
kid.
they don't.
They're getting things put in their
That's
mind
right.
with the video games, with the movies, with the Netflix, with the books, starting in school at age 8, 7, 6 now, and having open access to everything available to the world, which we know is bad. Access is great if used properly, but over access is not good in any capacity, right? Anything.
And the laws are the laws. You know what? When I hear people go, well, my parents said, they're your parents breaking the law.
Right.
So
right.
what your parent says, if it's against the law, is the point.
Yes.
The law says that type of material is unacceptable for children and it's harmful. That's why it's under the category of harmful.
That's right. And so we do have to be mindful all the time of these issues and not overlook them. We're all busy. I'm not as involved as I once was in that area. I've involved myself in some other areas, but I do want to get re-involved, because it is important. Even though my kids are aged out, my kids are going to have kids, and they're going to be here in Arizona, hopefully. And I don't want it to snowball to even get to a worse point where they literally can check out, I'll say CDs, or I guess DVDs, but they don't use DVDs
They have
anymore.
books in there about rape. They have books in there about violence. So, I mean, these are accessible to our kids.
Yeah. So these are very heavy topics, and parents should be the ones exclusively that gets to deal with these topics with their children. If you get to deal with nobody else as a parent, like as a parent, you brought them in, you're responsible for them legally. according to every state in America, until they're 18, we should at least have the full 100% unobstructed right, if nowhere else, to at least mold the kids to what we think is appropriate. And hopefully parents will, choose the right path on that, because that's also very subjective.
And the law confirms that with you.
And the law confirms that, yes, they are our right and our
That's right.
responsibility to also, and morally, emotionally,
Mhm.
psychologically, every
Yes.
way possible. Like, you have them until from birth to death, yours or theirs. And so I always say to my kids, and they don't really fight me anymore on this. It's like, I'm your mom. It's my job. It was my job. I asked for the job. Like, I legitimately said, I want this job. And then I created this job.
Mhm.
And until I am no longer on the earth,
That's right.
or they're no longer on the earth,
That's
God
right.
forbid, it's still my job. So people who tell me, oh, you do too much for your kids, I'm like, I just do mom stuff for my kids. Why does mom stuff stop? Because they can do other things for themselves. They live in a house, they work, they're still doing stuff for themselves, but I am still their mom. And I frankly get a lot of, pleasure out of helping my kids. So I'm doing it. I suggest all the parents get involved with your kids. Don't just, when the kids come home and you say, how was your day at school? They're like, nah, it was fine. And then they go to their room. Never let my kids do that. They hated it. I made the whole drive home. By the time we got home, they would be telling me about math class or English class and what was going on. So you do have to be persistent as a parent, and it is your job to be persistent. And if that's your only job you do, great, kudos. You don't have to work outside the house. I totally am a believer of that.
Mhm.
And, but it is your job, number one, to make sure the kids are getting the right materials and not the explicitly inappropriate, harmful materials. So Lezley, wrapping this up, is there anything you want to share, whether it be the website coming up, just your email again, or just a note to whoever watches this about just being involved?
Well, we also are going to have a video that's going to be coming out. I'll make sure that you get that. And there's some information that we're just keeping on the down low right now. Because again, the key thing is what needs to be done, we're doing. What still needs to be done, we're moving forward with the plan. And if you want to be involved, please contact me. And we would be happy to do that. There's groups out there that the Board of Supervisors says they're working with. Well, the reason they mention they're working with them because they're very accommodating to their slow pace. And that doesn't work for a lot of us who actually are sick and tired of this abuse happening to our children.
Right. Well, with that, well said. We are sick and tired of it. So if you would like to hang out for another few minutes, I'm going to wrap our show up, and then we can talk afterward. Because I do want to talk to you. You need to talk. I can't let you go because you're too busy, and then I can't find you for another week. And that's how that goes. And so you guys, the point being here, I think the bottom line is, I keep saying this, is you just have to understand what is happening in your community. And I'm going to put a finer point on that after we listen to, and we love her, Caroline Levitt is going to, if you want to listen to this, you can hear the rest of it.
Okay.
So let's listen to Caroline Levitt wrap up our week ending July 25th. She's back on board for me with our MAGA Minutes. Thank you, Carolyn. And let's hear that one.
A massive AI announcement, 3 trade deals, and a 6-month celebration all in 1 week. That's right. It's time for another jam-packed MAGA Minute. The administration began the week celebrating the most successful first 6 months in history. President Trump hosted the President of the Republic of the Philippines, and he delivered remarks at the Winning the AI Race AI Summit, outlining the administration's AI action plan to secure American AI dominance. The president then visited the Federal Reserve to assess potential wasteful spending in the central bank's $2.5 billion taxpayer-funded renovation. And the president continues to prove he is the deal maker in chief, inking trade deals with Japan, Indonesia, and the Philippines in what will go down as one of the most historic trade deals in American history. Real median earnings are now at their highest level since the last time Trump was in office. That means more money in your pocket. Columbia University agreed to pay the Trump administration a $200 million settlement for their violations of federal law, and they have vowed to protect Jewish Americans and all students on their campus. This week, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, declassified a report revealing former President Barack Obama wrongfully directed the intelligence community to publish implausible intel suggesting that President Putin colluded with President Trump in the 2016 election. This was a lie and one of the greatest political scandals in our nation's history. So following this, the Department of Justice has announced a strike force to investigate next steps. President Trump is off to Scotland. We will return to Washington on Tuesday, so we'll see you for next week's MAGA Minute.
Okay, so as usual, pretty busy day in America as well as Arizona. Some people say everything happening is good. We definitely like the surplus. We talked about that last week. If you have a surplus in any budget in America these days, I just don't see a negative to that. Still waiting for people's feedback on why that's negative. He took a trip to Scotland. It sounds like kind of a fun thing. He opened another golf course. I don't know that his whole life has to stop because he's president. He's kind of a mover, and I don't think he sits around watching people do things, and hoping things work out. He's working with the Federal Reserve. He wants to bring the interest rates down. My gas just went down another, I don't know, a few cents. I was at 32 filling up. I was at 29 filling up the other day. So like the prices are going down here in Arizona. I don't know who keeps saying they're going up. Again, give me feedback. I must be missing it, but I only paid $3.89 over in California for July 4th gas, which seemed pretty darn cheap when it was like $8 a few years ago. So I still haven't seen the negative comments that I get. I just don't have any evidence to back those up. And I would love for somebody to give me the evidence. And then I'll stop talking about what I think are positive gains in America. Love him or hate him. It's not relevant to things happening positively for the majority of the people. Like the person is not what we should be focusing on. It's the results, right? It's the actions speak louder than the words. Don't listen to his tweets. Those words are not always great. Even sometimes behind the podium, not always great, but his actions are what really stands out. And he is trying to help many people across our country, including continuing the deportations, right? And the more deportations equal the less criminals. Criminals overall who came into our country illegally are criminals, but the worst of the worst, the murderers, the ones who are harming our children, the worst, those are the ones we want to get out, the repeat offenders who have just trounced on our rules and regulations for years and years and years and harming people in our United States. We want all of them out as fast as possible. And we're all, I think, behind that. I hope you are too. But hopefully we'll hear again another full week. I'm sure next week will be no different than this week, and a lot is going to happen in the next 7 days. We can hardly keep up with it, and that's why we always thank Carolyn Levitt, our press secretary, who's the most competent, I think, of maybe a lot of people over there, but she does a fantastic job bringing it to us. And so you guys, it's been a full show again. We had a couple little glitches, but thank you, Robert, for picking that up for me and fixing everything for us. And hope that we brought you some information that you can use in your community, whether you live in Arizona, get on the Facebook groups, find Lezley Shepherd, most definitely. You can connect with her through my descriptions at Patriot_Mom007 on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and live there also. And then on X, it's P0rn, but the descriptions are everywhere. The links are everywhere. Please, if you don't mind, liking would be great, helpful to me. Following, I would appreciate wholeheartedly. But if you don't do either of those, please just hit the share button. Just pass the information on to the hundreds of people in your following group of wherever you hang out, because at least we can share with each other. You don't have to like what I say or believe it. In fact, I encourage you to Google everything I say for yourself. It's easier to learn things if you learn it yourself than listening to people talk. Is that true? Leslie agrees.
Absolutely.
Leslie agrees.
Check it out yourself.
I'm my own support staff over here now.
Be a Berean. Go in and examine to see if it's true.
Exactly. You got to find out for yourself what's happening. But I do want to thank you guys today for tuning in to American Perspective on this beautiful Friday in Arizona with your host, me, Noél Roberts, Patriot Mom 007. Still very patriotic over here. I know all the holidays are over. People said, oh, you have your nails are still red, white, and blue the other day. I said they are all year long because I live our country January through December 31st, not just on the Monday holidays or 4th of July, although those are my favorite for sure. because they honor our veterans, and we don't ever want to forget to honor those
That's right.
brave men and women who are still serving us to the best of their ability with their own lives every day here and abroad. So always remember to thank them, help them, donate to them. If you are donating to anyone, please divert those funds, certainly from your Netflix and the other accounts you waste money on every month. The best place to put it is with those who give back the most, and our first responders too. There's plenty of funds for all the officers who are being killed senselessly around the country. We had a funeral a couple days ago for others that were just gunned down, just doing their job, security officer on the weekend. I mean, this is getting pretty bad, and we have to pay attention and help those who help us the most. So you guys get involved, but get educated before you do that. Do your work, do the homework, go to your meetings, look up things online, familiarize with yourself with what's been happening in your area to date. Certainly the last few years will set the tone for what's happening now. You can learn about it online. And here in Arizona, you can find out very easily. I do have some of those links up as well in some of our other shows. If you see Lezley on my other shows, we have those links up for Board of Supervisors, as we do for this show. You can go down, you can take a look. Some of them have zoom in links that you can actually watch at home. So don't think it prohibits you if you can't get there. You can also replay them on their YouTube channel. So you have all the resources available whenever you want to find out anything. It's all up there for your use. But if you don't know the challenges in your community, you cannot help to correct and improve anything for yourself, your friends, your family, neighbors, of course, your community as a whole in your city, your county, your state, and on a federal level. The president's in charge, but we still have to do our job to help that along. One person can't do it all. I think we've learned that just from living our lives. It does take a village and a community here and always. And we want to teach that to our families. So elections are around the corner. We don't talk about those a lot, but there are some really important ones coming up. There will be here in Arizona too. So start getting involved. If you're not a precinct committeeman, Google that, find out how you can do that, find out who your candidates are. They're already running around town here in Arizona. You can hear from them now, listen to their message the entire time from now till the election day, and understand if they change their messaging. You might want to decide whether or not you're really voting for them if they didn't start with that messaging, and go meet them and talk to them, because they are accessible, and that's how you know who you are hiring, not just voting for. But next week, you guys, Paul List, it's going to be the dangers of AI, and there are a lot of those. People think they're going to take over the world like Terminator. I don't know if they are, but it's probably possible. So we're going to hear from him because he knows all of the intricate ins and outs of that. And otherwise, it's Friday. I hope you guys had a great week of work or whatever it is you did. I hope you're going to have a great night and weekend tonight. And I look forward to seeing you next here on Friday next week on the 8th of August. 12 noon Mountain and Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern on American Perspective with me, Patriot Mom 007. And Robert, with that, if you could take us out, we'd appreciate it.